want you to look at something right now. Think of some major goal you want, or maybe it's one you're already working on, and you have experienced a lot of setbacks, a lot of defeats. You've experienced a lot of disappointment. Maybe you've already given up, and maybe you just need a little fire, a little encouragement to get back in the game again. Here's what I want you to look at. There are winners, there are losers, and there are people who have not discovered how to win. And all they need is some coaching. All they need is some help and assistance, just a little support. All they need is some insight or a different strategy, a plan of action to make some adjustments that will open up the key to a whole new future for them, that will give them access to the unlimited power that they have within themselves. That's all that they need. So what I want you to do is think about something you want for you, that's real for you, that's important for you, that will give your life some special meaning and power. And I don't even want you to say, I can do that. I don't want you to assume that. See, 5 years ago when I started out in this area, I would not have been able to make the mental leap that I would be up to where I am right now. I don't want you to begin to just psych yourself out. No. I want you to be able to say something to yourself that will enable you to maintain a level of integrity with yourself. That when you say this, even when you face tremendous setbacks, it will be a benchmark to keep you in the game, to keep you moving forward and experimenting and readjusting your strategy and your plan of action, continuously looking for ways to win. So what is that something? When you got an idea you want to move on, you might not have the money, you might not have the education, you might not have the support or the resources you need. What is that something that can keep us going, that will enable us to act on our dream? What's one of those keys that will begin to help us to discover the secrets to our dream? Here's what I want you to repeat after me, please, with power and conviction. Say, it's possible. That's all I want you to do when you look at your dream. Just say to yourself every day, it's possible. Just say that every day to yourself, it's possible. Because what does that do? See, it begins to change your belief system. See, the way in which we operate, ladies and gentlemen, it's a manifestation of what we believe, what's possible for us. Whatever you've done up to this point, all that it really is a duplication, it's a reproduction of what you believe subconsciously that you deserve and what's possible for your life. Most people operate out of their personal history, out of their memory, things they've done, things they've experienced, things they've seen, things that they have observed. What I'm suggesting that you operate out of a larger vision of yourself. I want you to see yourself doing what you want to do, experiencing what you want to experience, having what you want to have, doing what it is that gives your life some meaning and value. Operate out of your imagination, not your memory. Because whenever you look at where you want to go, I'm wanting to warn you, you will have some conversation back here after you go through the data that you've experienced in life saying you can't do it. And so what you want to begin to do is ignore that inner conversation. Well, most people, ladies and gentlemen, when something happens to them, what they do is they begin to believe that that's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. And they can't see the possibility of it being any different. Example, before April 1954, the common belief, the universal belief, because it had been tried again and again and again and people had failed, the belief was that man was not physically capable of breaking the 4-minute barrier, that he could not run a mile in less than 4 minutes. That was the belief on the planet. It had never been done. But here's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Bannister came along and he broke the 4-minute barrier. Now here's what's significant about that. Since that time, up to this day, over 20,000 people have done it, including high school kids. What changed? 20,000 people, what changed? Here's what happened when they got on the track. They knew it had been done. And because they knew it had been done, there was a new belief about this barrier, about this goal that was unreachable. And those 20,000 people got in the race believing, knowing in their heart that someone had done it, that it's possible, that they could do it. And I'm saying that if you know anybody that had some goal, some dream, something they wanted to do, and they did it, then I'm saying that you know in your heart that if someone has done it, then you can do it. It's possible. And that if someone can make their dream become a reality, that it's possible that you can make your dream become reality. And so as you begin to look at where you want to go, beginning to embrace that, it's possible. I'm blessed and highly favored. I've got a lot going for me. I got some good stuff in me. And it's possible that I can bring my greatness out here in the universe. That I can do what I want to do. It's possible I can write my own book. I can have my own business. I can take the trip and travel around the world. It's possible. I can bounce back from adversity and reinvent my life. It's possible. Regardless of where I am, the things can get better for me. It's possible. I'm thinking about two men right here in Chicago who were fairly successful, similar background, educated. They worked for a corporation for many years, and they were among many people that were laid off. Two guys who were very good friends. One went out looking for a job for several weeks along with the other one, and they faced disappointment and rejection again and again and again. They couldn't find any work, which is the story of many people across this country. One guy stopped. He became discouraged. He stopped going. He stayed home looking at television, became very argumentative and toxic with his wife, drinking beer, getting on the phone, talking to his other negative, unemployed friends. And he just gave up. The other guy kept looking for a job everywhere he could go. Every time he could get an opportunity, kept asking people, networking, checking the newspapers every day. Kept going everywhere he could, trying to find a job. You have too much education. You're overqualified. You won't be here long enough. He kept going. He kept going. He went to a place and said, look here, I tell you what, if you can't hire me, and I know you can use my talents, abilities, and skills, I don't want to sit home and do nothing. Just let me do some volunteer work. You don't have to give me anything, all right? I just want to work. I want to be busy. Guy said, okay, it's on you now, but don't expect me to give you anything. It's okay. This guy came in and worked. He was the first one there. The last one to leave was the best employee there. About 4 weeks later, one of the top managers quit. They were looking for a replacement. Guess who they selected? This other guy. This guy who was volunteering his time. He got the job. What was the difference between the two men? Eyesight and mindsight. Eyesight is judging on what you see, judging according to appearances. But mindsight is how you interpret what you see. One guy said, it's not possible, it's over, I'm finished. I can't do it. I can't make it. He surrendered. I've faced rejection again and again. I'm not going anymore. There are no jobs out there. But this other guy, he felt that in spite of the no's and rejections, in spite of how bad the economy is, in spite of what the newspapers are saying, that it's possible that somebody somewhere will give me a job. He just kept going, thinking it was possible. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's what we have to do with our dreams. Because things happen to you in life that you can never, ever anticipate. And many times when those things happen, you want to give up. I remember when I was in broadcasting, when I was a disc jockey, I became very controversial, not only being a disc jockey, but I felt that radio was something that you not only entertain people with, but you also empower them, you educate them. And I got fired. I didn't just leave, they fired me. That was a shock. I said, wait a minute. They took my microphone. I thought that was who I was. No, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't. I had to do something else. And I didn't know what else I could do. See, here's what I'm looking at. What are the uses for your life right now that you haven't even reached for yet? See, I believe that when you don't have enough encouragement to act on your dreams or ideas, or you're not enlightened enough, then life will act on you. See, life, it moved on me and said, Les Brown, you've outgrown this. It's time for you to do something else. Well, I wasn't enlightened enough. I organized some disc jockeys and got my job back. So they had to fire me again. I got fired twice. Here's what I did. I had to think of something else. And so a guy suggested to me, he said, Les, why don't you run for office? I said, man, I never run for office. I've never known anything about how I operate in the political arena. I've heard encourage people to register to vote and get out to vote, but I don't know anything about politics. He said, neither do the people who run for office all the time. So I ran. Now here's what I'm suggesting. I ran. You got to do what you can where you are with what you have. I didn't have any money. I didn't know anything about the political process. I didn't even have any support. But here's what the guy told me. It's possible you could win. That's all I had. I was running against an endorsed candidate. He was an incumbent. He had the newspaper support, all of the leadership in the community, and I was challenging this guy. So I had a saying when I was on radio, stand up for what you believe in because you can fall for anything. And I would go door to door. I have my kids on one side of the street. I would be on the other. And I'd knock on doors. Hello, my name is Les Brown. Tell everybody I'm still standing. They get on the phone. John Les Brown was to my house today. You know the boy on the radio with the big mouth? Yeah, they found him, honey. Say, he's still staring. See, I'm saying just keep moving. Don't stop feeling sorry for yourself. Don't spend time blaming and talking about what happened to you. See, whatever you talk about, that's what you multiply and expand in your life experience. So don't talk about stuff unless you want it to keep on happening to you, all right? So I got in that kind of action. As I continue to do that, had my children with me, we're going door to door, didn't have enough money. Eventually, we got close to the election and something happened that really surprised me. Guys who I thought were going to either support me or stay out of it, various powerful community leaders, they became involved in it and they endorsed my opponent. I felt devastated. Now that's going to happen to you when you're working on your dream. Things are going to happen. That's going to catch you on the blind side. That was shocking to me. They didn't have to do that. All they had to do was just stay out of it. But here they go, come up in there messing with me. Now that's going to happen. You know, some people who believe it's their personal business to stop you from living your dream, all right? But I didn't deal with that. You want to make your dream come true, you got to stay focused. Some people rather get even than get ahead. Stay focused on where you want to go. I just kept on doing what I was supposed to do. And so I was driving to the radio station. My opponent had over $20,000. I had less than $800. As I was in the radio station, the guy said, "You're going to make a commercial?" I said, "Yes." He said, "It better be a good one because that money can't go pretty far here." And I sat there in the middle control room and I was thinking. And here's what happens when you get still. Stuff will start coming. Something said, "Call your mama." You used to talk about your mother on the air all the time. Ask her to say a few words for you. That'll be a different kind of political spot. So I called my mama, and I had a gospel record playing in the background. And then I had my mother say, "Hello, this is Mrs. Mamie Brown. When I raised my sons, I raised them to be good children. When they got out of hand, I beat them behind and made them go right. Please vote for my son. He's a good boy." Usually in the state representative race, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 people will come out to vote in a primary. In that primary race, over 27,000 people came out and voted and said, "I'm voting for Les Brown because his mama said he's a good boy." I won, ladies and gentlemen. I won. So you've got to be willing to stay focused, to be creative, to be relentless, because things are going to happen to you when you're working on your dream. When you get on track. I remember when I first got involved in speaking, one of the main things that speakers like to do is speak to a certain association that they have over 10,000 of their sales reps that come to this convention. And I was relentless. I kept saying, "It's possible. It's possible." See, what I wanted to let you know and set you up for, because you said it's possible, don't mean that you're not going to have any problems. That Murphy's Law ain't going to come and slap you inside the head. Old Murphy going to come visit you. He's waiting for some of y'all out in the parking lot. Oh, you say it's possible. Okay, it's possible. Get up. Well, I was working. I kept saying it's possible. They got other speakers on this program. I can be on that program too. I kept selling myself. I got all fired up. And I was calling them every day. And the lady finally said, "Mr. Brown, I tell you what, we want you to come in and talk to our sales executives. You got the kind of fire and guts that they want that will motivate them. And let me tell you something else. We want you to bring your motivational tapes. You're going to need at least $50,000 worth of tapes." I said, "Is that right?" "Yes, because they want to keep that drive alive." I said, "All right." I called the guy to duplicate my tapes. I said, "Don, how you doing? This is Les. Let me tell you, I got a major speaking engagement." He said, "Man, it's a speaker's dream. I need over $50,000 worth of product." He said, "Les, you don't have that kind of credit." I said, "I know, but Don, I could sell that. Just right after speaking engagement, I'll give you your money in 4 days." He said, "Are you sure, Les?" I said, "Yes, but I got a major speaking engagement, and they told me to do it." He said, "Man, that's a big offer. Let me talk with the lady with you." I said, "Hold on just a minute, man." Call the lady back. "Hello, Evelyn, how you doing? This is Les Brown. I got Don on the phone. What did you say? Do I have the speaking engagement?" "Yes, you do. And what else you suggest?" "Les, our people, they buy a lot of tapes. Your tapes are very popular among them. I'm saying bring at least $50,000 worth of tapes, Les. You'll sell everything you got and more." I said, "Did you hear that, Don?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Now, if anybody else has to make a decision, are you the final person?" She said, "I'm the final person. I will send you the contract. I want you." I said, "Did you hear that, Don?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Oh, ye of little faith." I said, "Duplicate the tapes, man. Hung the phone up." Well, he duplicated the tapes. 1 week came by. I'm checking the mail every day. No contract. I said, "Come on, Murphy, don't stop now. Come on. Come on, man, give me a break. Come on, you know, stay fair. Come on, man." Keep going, break. Come on. I talked to myself, you know. I didn't want to call him right now. 2 weeks passed by. Murphy said, don't you think you ought to call him? I said, okay. I called. I said, hello, this is Les Brown calling. How you doing, Les? I said, fine. I said, Evelyn hasn't sent my contract out yet. Any additional information you need? So, Les, you haven't heard? I said, no. He said, Evelyn died. I said, she died? I said, did she say anything about me? When I got home, I was so wiped out. And Murphy was in the house waiting on me. Murphy said, is it possible you want to listen to some of your tapes? But ladies and gentlemen, here's what I had to do. I had to begin to focus on what was the solution. That this was not the only place that I'd be able to sell those products. And as I began to challenge myself and got some help and support and some other input, I eventually did. It took longer, but it was challenging. But I did it. Repeat after me, please. No matter how bad it is, or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, you got that right. Repeat after me, please. It's possible. I can have my dream. I can get what I want. I must be creative and never give up.
How these people can develop their story or let them know, because I know that there's a lot of people here, and we have probably 50 different countries around the world that watch this, and a lot of them aren't aware of you yet.
Yes.
But they need to be, right? They need to know about your products and services and coaching and all that stuff, and we'll talk about that. Your story, what was the defining moment, that turning point for you that set your life on a different course?
Well, what set my life on a different course was when my mother became ill. Because I was a state legislator in Columbus, Ohio. I'm adopted. I was born in a poor section of Miami, Florida called Liberty City, an abandoned building on a floor with a twin brother. I'm telling you my story. And when we were 6 weeks of age, we were adopted by Mrs. Mamie Brown. I feel like Abraham Lincoln, who said, all that I am and all that I hope to be, I owe to my mother. My mother was a domestic worker on Miami Beach. She cooked for families. We ate the food left over from the families that she cooked for. We wore the hand-me-down clothes of the children that Mama kept. And so as a child in goal, a turning point in my life was seeing my mother work so hard. I said, Eric, when I become a man, I want to take care of my mother. I want to ask you, is there someone that you want to take care of? Is there someone that you'd like to do something special for? I want you to think about that person right now. Now, what I've done by doing that, I have segued from my story. I have now brought them into the story, and I asked them, is there someone you want to do something special for? They're saying yes. Now, that is called an imaginative leap. They leap from my story into their own story and say, yes, I know somebody. I'd like to do something for my coach or for my minister or for my mother or for my father or an aunt that raised me, okay? So now they're in the story. Now I will tell them how I went about doing that. So they have an interest. Who are you? What do you have? I have a story on how I brought my mother home. And why should I care? The reason you should care is that I've been very successful at doing something that you can do too. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So now you create a committed listening in the telling of the story. Or I can say, you know, recently I went to a seminar. A young lady by the name of Pauline Ahi. She came to the seminar. Pauline flew from Hawaii to Los Angeles. I was very inspired as I watched her. And the reason I was inspired, here we were in a room of entrepreneurs. And the person standing in front of the room, Dr. Julie Van Putten, as she was speaking and talking about discovering your power voice, ever so often Pauline would lean forward and she'd pick up a pen with her mouth and she would write with her mouth. Pauline came from Hawaii. Pauline has no arms. Pauline has no legs. She writes with her mouth. Here's a person who decided to become an entrepreneur, who decided to build a business in multi-level marketing, and with no arms and no legs, she's building an organization. And one of the things that really got me, when Dr. Julie Van Putten interviewed Pauline, she asked her, tell me one major obstacle you had in your life. Tell me something you can think of. And Pauline looked, and she thought, and she said, I can't think of anything. And that grabbed me, because I could have given a whole lot of things, a list of obstacles. And that showed me that Elsie Robinson was right when he said things may happen around you and things may happen to you, but the only things that really count are the things that happen in you. Even though she was born with no arms and no legs, what has happened in her that she sees herself as an empowered person. She has not decided to become a part of a job, the journey of the broke. She decided to control her own destiny by being involved in multi-level marketing. And what I said is I looked at her, if Pauline can do it, I know I can do it. And I know you can do it. Okay. So there's
How many more you got? Keep going.
So those examples, I mean, Mike Jones out of Philadelphia. I met him. Mike was earning $500 a month on Social Security. He now earns over $35,000 a month, and he does a seminar called How to Earn Over $200,000 a Year with Your Eyes Closed. He's been blind since he was 10. Okay, so all of these examples of what we see, other people's lives, we can use that as a platform.
So whether it's your story or somebody else's example that you're giving.
Yes, and people say,
I don't have success yet.
Yes.
They're just getting started. I haven't had success. I've been involved for 6 months. I haven't had success, but I can tell this other story and I can say that's why I'm doing this.
Yeah. Dexter Yeager, who was a beer truck driver, and now 50% of Amway volume comes through his organization. Dexter was just an everyday guy who decided that he wanted to live a different life for himself and for his family. And so when we look at people who are the great performers in multi-level marketing, here's what I know that they have in common too. Not only are they great storytellers, but there was a deciding moment, and that moment when they said virtually, I've had it. I've had it. That's when people change. I used to live next door to a lady named Lillian, and Mr. Marvin, every Friday night he would get drunk and beat her. And I saw her years later and said, how's Mr. Marvin doing? She said, I left him. I said, why? She said, I'd had it. I'd had it with Marvin beating on me. That's when people leave jobs and they say, well, where are you going? Away from here. I've had it. You know, I was working on a job where they paid me just enough to keep me from quitting it. I worked just hard enough to keep from getting fired. Finally, I said, you know what? I've had it. Going where I'm celebrated rather than tolerated. I've had it living and playing small. And so those kind of examples and that kind of passion. People are not just looking for information. They're looking for personality and passion. They can get information on the internet. There are no secrets out here. You can just Google everything and find out what day the earth was made and the rock that broke Goliath's jaw. We can find everything right now. But personality and passion, that's what people want. That's what they buy into. Do you believe there's a difference between being in this business and this business being in you? That's what they feel. And the people that grow the large organizations, you can tell being in their presence that as much as they have chosen this, they were chosen for this kind of work. You've got to have a passion for people. You've got to believe in the product. You've got to believe in the industry. You've got to believe that you have it within yourself to become an entrepreneur, that it's possible that you can live your dream. That's why people say yes, that it's necessary, and that you are the driving force to make it happen, that it's you, that nobody can do it for you, nobody's going to care more about your dream than you, and that it's hard, that easy is not an option. That when you think about growing your organization, think it not strange that your family members and friends will say no. People who should be there to help you won't help you. In fact, they will discourage you. They will laugh at you. Oh, you're involved in some pyramid scheme. Here you go again. All of that's going to be a part of it. When you get on an airplane, before they take off, they say fasten your seatbelt. Why? Because you're going to experience some turbulence before you reach a comfortable altitude. When you get involved in multi-level marketing, fasten your psychological seatbelts. Why? Because you're going to experience rejections and no and laughter and snickers from your family members and friends. Why? I don't know. That's just the way it is. It's possible you can live your dreams in spite of that. It's necessary for you to know that you're the one to make it happen, and that you become selective of people that you bring into the business. You don't want to convince people to do it, because person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. You want people who want more, not people who need more. And that it's you. You've got to be the driving force, and it's hard, and it's worth it. Decide now. Write down 5 reasons on why you won't give up. 5 reasons when you're facing the rejections and the no's, when people don't show up at the parties, when people don't keep their word. 5 reasons why you will stick in the game. I have a saying, when life knocks you down, try to land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. Your reasons will help you get back up again. Nietzsche said, if you know the why for living, you can endure almost anyhow. So it's possible you can build an incredible organization, make a great living for yourself, and it's necessary. If you're casual about your dream, as Bill Bailey said, you will end up a casualty, and it's you, and it's hard, and it's worth it. And once you create that momentum, it's done. Stick a fork in it. It's done.
So it's possible.
Yes.
The second one?
Yes, and the reason it's possible, what's possible for one is possible for all. If anybody built an incredible organization, went across the stage, and got a check because of their work and their effort, then it's possible that everybody seated there as witnesses can do it.
Right.
And that it's necessary.
It's necessary.
Yeah, you got to have a game plan. You got to be willing to stick it out. You got to be willing to persist. Art Mandino said you got to be willing to say, I will persist until I succeed. And, you know, the greatest salesman in the world. And you got to say to yourself your mantra, no matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. Because in the beginning, things look real good. Right. And then you have a dry spell. And then you start questioning yourself. And that's what over 85% of people do. And it's you. You got to take personal responsibility. You're going from being a volunteer victim of letting somebody tell you what time to be to work, how long your lunch break will be, what time to get off, how many days you can be sick out of the year, how many days you can go on vacation. You got to to ask for permission. You're going from that position of powerlessness and being weak, because most people have developed an addiction to powerlessness. That's why the majority of people you ask to come into this business will say no. They have developed an addiction to powerlessness. When you're working with somebody else's job, they are controlling your financial future. So you are different. You are not common. You are uncommon when you said yes to this dream.
Yeah, stop for a second. An addiction to powerlessness.
Yes.
I've never heard it said that way. And I think that's really interesting, the way you say that. Because we've been taught.
We've been groomed and we've been taught to depend on a job, to look forward to a job. People looking for jobs in an economy where jobs are shrinking. We cannot produce enough jobs. The government cannot produce enough jobs to replace the jobs that are being eliminated through technology and cheap labor abroad. I can get a PhD in the Philippines for $500 a month. When I was a kid, I used to work in a bowling alley. They knocked the pins down, we jumped down, and we straightened the pins back out. Somebody invented a trade that put us out of business. I used to work on the elevator. What floor, please? And I would punch the elevator. No, they don't need that now. When I was in school, my girlfriend said, I want to be an operator. When you made a long distance call, you call an operator placed a call. Now you call direct. So technology is changing things, replacing whole industries. When the last time you went to the store and bought some envelopes and a stamp and some stationery and a pen to write a letter? We don't do that now. We text, we email. That's an industry that's eroding. I went to a school, Bill Gates School in Philadelphia. They don't have paper, all computer, a paperless school. That's different. When I was a kid, we carried books to school. So this is the era the late Peter Drucker calls the era of the 3 C's: accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition. What we have in multi-level marketing is cooperation and collaboration, people working together in a community of achievers to help everybody win. That's the exciting thing, that when I help you win, then I win also.
How can people develop a hunger in themselves, and why is it so important?
I was downtown with my mother. I was around 5 years old. And my mother, she adopted altogether. She took in foster kids, 7, and I was one among the 7. Then she adopted us. I let go of her hand about 95 degrees downtown Miami. And I ran up to a water fountain and I started drinking. And all of a sudden I felt her hand. She said, don't you ever do that again. She snatched me down. And she began to punch me in the face and the head, and just beating me fiercely like she didn't know me. I said, Mama, it's me, Mama, it's me. And then a white policeman came over, and he had a billy club, and he was hitting it in his hand. He said, okay, you can let that little nigger boy go now. I won't have to do it. And he looked at me with my busted lips, eyes swollen, and started laughing as he walked away. That'll teach you. And my mother, as she helped me up, she began to cry. I was crying because of the pain of the punches and the blows. She was crying because she beat her baby boy. I said, Mama, why did you beat me like that? She said, when I saw that white policeman's face turn red, and he gripped his nightstick and he was coming towards you to hit you, I had to think fast and do something to distract him. Because had he hit you, Leslie, he would have had to kill me. And I did the best thing that I knew how. I'm so sorry, son. I'm so sorry. Mama, love you. I didn't mean to beat you like that. I said, Mama, it didn't hurt that badly. And so, doing it when you were a kid, mothers kissed the part to make it well. I said, right here, I got the one out there. She would kiss it. I said, I got another one over here. She said, just shut up. I knew then I was living in a different world. I got to tell you this, I have never talked about this publicly. I worked for a guy named Joe. And Joe was really fond of me, and I admired him. And I used to do odd jobs for him. And he invited me to his house during the time. Now, mind you, I'm 75, so segregation is in the South. And this is unusual, and he invited me. He wanted me to know that he was liberal, invited me to his house to have dinner. So he introduced me to his wife, and then his son came over, and his daughter-in-law, and their little girl named Alice. And I spoke to all of them. And so Alice, she was around 5, and she came around, and I said, hello, Alice. She said, hi. And then she came around, and she came behind me. And all of a sudden, I felt something behind me, at the bottom of the chair. She was moving her hand below my butt. I said, Alice, what are you doing? And she said, where is it? I said, where's what? Where's your tail? And I looked at Joe and his wife and his son and daughter-in-law. I said, I clipped it off. She said, why? I said, because when I sat down, it would hurt. What'd you do with it? I said, just threw it away. She said, will it grow back? I said, no. Oh, and then she was just so disappointed. She stomped to her chair and she sat down. She said, you shouldn't have cut it off. I was waiting to see it when Grandpa said that you were coming for dinner. I said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And we went on to have dinner. Eric, as we were having dinner, she continued to talk and ask me different questions about my tail. How long I had it? How long did it take it to grow? I said, it didn't take very long. I said, I had it since I was born. And I was trying to hold a conversation with a little 5-year-old, and they are about to go under the table. Their faces look red as cherries. And so when I got ready to go, she said, I'm not going to forgive you for clipping off your tail. I said, I'm sorry, Alice. Had I known you would want to see it, I would not have clipped it off. I'm so sorry. And so I said, bye, everybody, but she would not say bye to me. She just looked away like, you cut your tail off. Don't say bye to me. And so when we got in the car, Joe was driving me home, and the car was very silent. And by the time we got to my street, he started to say something, and I said, Joe, it's okay. It's okay. So you take care. And he drove off. And I sat down on my doorstep and I cried because I thought I knew this guy. I thought he was my friend. I had no idea that he had taught his granddaughter how to damn tail. I'm sorry, Eric. I had to collect myself before going in the house. And Mama said, Leslie, you all right? I said, no, man, what's wrong? I said, nothing. How's Joe? I said, he's doing real good. And I wouldn't tell her because I knew that would have broke her heart. And that night, I'm just thinking about how, signs that I'd seen on Miami Beach, Jews, dogs, and coloreds not allowed. And I remember asking my mother, why do they hate us so badly? And she said, Leslie, I don't know, but don't you ever be like them. Do you hear me? Don't you ever be like them. God is love. Scripture says God is love, and he who dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. And I made a commitment. I'm Amy Brown's baby boy, to live a life of love. That how you feel about me, Eric, is none of my spiritual business. It's how I feel about myself that's most important. And everybody don't operate at that level of consciousness, but it created a fierceness in me. I knew there were two worlds, and it's a hunger to take care of my mother, the hunger to provide for her, the hunger to buy her a home. It gave birth to that hunger. Hearing my mother having to clap her hands when she went into another room to look for a hat for Miss Harris. Miss Harris, how you doing? Great. Mamie, do you see it? No, I don't. Mama, what is it, Leslie? Why are you clapping your hands? Don't you worry about it. You just do what you're supposed to do. Miss Harris said, clean the spots off the floor. She came out. I don't see it, Miss Harris. Go in the other room, Mamie. She went in the other room. Mama started clapping her hands again. Mama, why are you clapping your hands? Didn't I tell you, boy, to do what you're supposed to do? Miss Harris came over to me. I can tell you why she's clapping her hands. Because when I have colored people looking for something and I can't see them, I make them clap their hands to make sure they're not stealing. I dropped the washcloth. And during this time, you weren't allowed to look white people in the eyes. I looked her in the eyes and I said, my mother is not a thief. She would not steal from you or anybody. She's not a thief. Then I got back down and I started scrubbing that floor and slinging water everywhere, tears coming out of my eyes. On the way back to Overtown in Liberty City on the bus, I wasn't talking. She said, Leslie, yes ma'am, what's wrong with you? I said, I'm mad. She said, why? I want to be a man. Why? You'll be a man soon enough. I said, no, I want to be a man now. She said, why? I said, if I was a man, you would never cook for anybody but us. If I was a man, we would not have to eat food left over from the families that you cook for. If I was a man, we would not have to wear hand-me-down clothes that somebody else has worn for a year. If I was a man, nobody would make you pop your hands because they think that you're stealing. She said, Miss Harris told you that, didn't she? I said, yes, ma'am. And I just turned and looked out the window. And she said, Leslie, it's going to be all right, son. That gave birth, Eric, to hunger in me. That nobody would ever make my mother clap her hands again because they think that she's stealing. That my mother, one day, because of my becoming actively engaged in the fight that people are doing right now, that kids would not get the hell beat out of them because they drank from a water fountain that said for whites only. That's why I use radio to bring about social justice, and it caused me to be the person that I am. It created a hunger to create a better world. It created a hunger to live a life that will outlive me. That's why I train speakers to become messengers of hope, because when there's hope in the future, that gives you power in the present, and get people to live out of their imagination rather than their education and their indoctrination, and help them to have an expanded vision of who we are and how we can show up in life. So you asked the question, yeah, for what you asked for.
No, I'm glad. I mean, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. I've known you for, what, 25 years? Something
At least.
Yeah,
Over
I've known you a
30.
long time. And some of these stories I've never heard.
And my stories and my history is what notice I said, help people live out of their imagination and not out of history. My history has never interfered with our relationship.
Right.
I was in Poland earlier last year, and I had a chance to meet a young man who'd never seen me in person, but he heard my voice. He was going through some tough times. He'd lost his mother, and he decided to bring me to Poland. He heard my voice, and it changed his life at a time that he was struggling, dealing with the passing of his mother, and he just lost connection with himself. And I just thought about what an honor it was to be able to reach him. And one of the things, as I reflect on my life, I believe that we're all here for a reason, and we're all here for a purpose. As a 17-year cancer conqueror, I know that I have been given grace so that I can do something amazing with my life. I want to thank you for your support, for your prayers. And you have a voice. You have a story. And I say that it's on you to do something with your voice. It's on you to take responsibility, to use your story to change people's lives. And there are people around the world who are waiting to hear you. I'm reminded of something Dr. Howard Thurman, who was a mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Albert Schweitzer and Mahatma Gandhi. He said, there's something in each and every one of you that waits and listens to the voice of the genuine in yourself. It will be perhaps the only guide and voice you will ever have. And if you cannot hear it, all of your life, your days will be spent on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. And I say to you that the reason that you're listening to me right now is that you decided that you have a voice, that you have a story. There's something that you want to do with your voice and your story and your life. You have a dream to pull your own strings, to control your own destiny. You know, Helen Keller said life is either a daring adventure or it's boring. And you've decided, I want to make my life a daring adventure, and I identify with you. And so this is my celebration of this year. You've gone through what I have gone through over the years. You're glad to know. A lot of people don't want to say how old they are. But let me tell you something. It's good to be 69. Let me tell you something. Every day above ground is a good day. Believe me. If you don't believe me, just try this and what. So I like to leave this with you. You have a voice and you have a story.
As you were speaking about, tapping into the heart, I want to know, in this chapter of your life, what is your heart telling you that you're going to be doing or that you need to do?
I do it every day. I asked an audience the other day, if you just had a few days to live, what would you do? And the majority of the people who had jobs said, I'll quit my job. And this is why I say, and I think one of the most important things that I say, live your life the way that you want to leave your life. If I knew that I had a few days to live, I would do more interviews. I would do more webinars, more Zooms. I would speak more often. I'd look for ways in which I could reach more people, because I'm living my life the way that I want to leave my life. I'm being true to me. I laugh a lot because I'm happy. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. I'm free to choose how this gift of life is God's gift to us, and how we live our lives is our gift to God. I'm free to choose to operate outside of the culture, outside of what's expected of me. I'm free to choose how I'm going to respond to things rather than react to things. I'm free to seek ye this day whom ye shall serve. The highest that's in me or the lowest that's in me. I'm free to stand on the knowing. I'll keep thee in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Not on the fourth stage cancer that somebody with a white jacket and a stethoscope around their neck. I'm free to focus on the reality that doctors determine the diagnosis, but God determines the prognosis. And when I left Cancer Centers of America, I know that this battle, this fight that I'm in, life is a fight for territory. And once you start fighting for what you want, peace of mind, good health, living a life of contribution, once you start fighting for that, what you don't want, anxiety, fear, hopelessness will take over. We always have a choice. That's not taken away from us. We have to give it.